Hello everyone, and welcome to this on-demand session for Microsoft Ready. Even before going to the slide with the title, I want to give you an important anticipation. This is going to be an intense, short trip to share a story from real life, from the field, about our enterprise customers' digital transformation. We're going to touch contents from 100 through 300 level, but we're going through this path together so that we're going to be on the same page in every moment, regardless the background. Are you ready? Let's go. Big data pipeline in conversational platform, transforming technologies, operations, and people. My name is Luca Vallarelli, and I'm a consultant in the data and AI domain in the EMEA time zone. This session will be about few best practices to keep in mind when dealing with conversational platform projects in which the customer wants to monitor specific business KPI to understand the return of investment on chatbot projects, like how the chatbot is performing, helping people, meeting users' satisfaction, and artificial intelligence humans understanding capabilities. This presentation is organized on purpose in two core learning objectives to keep it compact and understandable for the large audience. And by the way, other resources links will be provided at the end to allow you to deepen further aspects related to this session at your own pace with more details. So at the end, you should be better able to know how the bot development stream and the big data advanced analytics pipeline stream should work together to save time and to avoid any reworks. And then allow the IT operation customers team to be able to do continuous deployment of the solution provided by exploiting Azure DevOps, and they would be able to do that without having any development skills nor sharing any credentials among teams. So let's give a little bit of context. This story comes from the real projects and sites in telco customers like Tim, and it's become an IP already reused also in other industries like energy, oil and gas, and public sectors, where to improve contact center customer service with an AI-based chatbot. So the idea is to enrich with artificial intelligence a contact center, providing a 24/7 customer-centric assistance. The solution should also be able to manage tens of millions conversations per year, and they are cross-channel. So it means that we can have Telegram, WhatsApp, or other social network, as well as the voice channel. So the artificial intelligence is one, but it provides the assistance to different users on different channels. We worked with 3 customer business units, and that meant that we were working with 3 customers at the same time, asking for different sets of key performance indicators to monitor. In the title, we mentioned transformation of technologies as well as processes and people, and how to do that via DevOps, which is the centralized place where to assign tasks to team members, monitor task completion, and manage the code of the solution, as well as the pipelines to do testing and deployments. We will see more in details this in the next slides. And then the second learning objectives is about the sync of the bot development and the big data analytics pipeline streams. So how are we organized? We have the apps team that take care of the coding of the chatbot, and the data and AI team working on building the big data pipeline to monitor the solution and implementing the KPIs. So let's have a look at those icons. This is the bot framework, so the framework that provides functionalities to build the bot. Then another famous one, SQL, can be database or data warehouse, to persist data in a structured way, so in tables. And then the blue brain, that are our cognitive services, like, for example, Lewis, to allow our chatbot to understand the human language. And then maybe one of the most famous icons, that is Power BI, that is our front end, so the presentation layer where to build reports to show KPIs. And then maybe the most recent icon, that is about Databricks, which is actually Spark. And Databricks provide an interface for developers to write code for doing data enrichment and transformation. And then we have this icon. Have you ever seen this icon? Do you remember what's about? We will see that later, because this is gonna be the bridge between the bot development and big data pipeline development. So we mentioned DevOps. What's the DevOps approach? That's a really nice definition of it. DevOps is the union of people, processes, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to your end users. So let's see how it works. We have mentioned continuous delivery. So it means that we're going to have several iterations on an agile approach. Let's choose a point where to start from, like plan and track. Thanks to Azure DevOps, we are able to plan via Azure boards all the things that need to be done, the list of backlog items and all the tasks needed to close all these backlogs. These objects are grouped in features. In this environment, Azure boards, we are able to assign tasks to people and estimate how much time will be needed to accomplish those tasks and track the progress. We have then the more, let's say, technical part, the development itself. And once that the development is closed, we are ready to build a solution and do some testing before doing the deployment. Now, thanks to the Azure artifacts, Azure pipelines, and Azure test plans, it is possible to do this testing and the deployment. And here we talk about the second goal of this presentation, that is providing the possibility to the IT operation team to deploy the solution in one click and without having any development skills, because the team needs to have development skills for this part and to prepare the Azure pipelines. But after that, when the pipelines are ready, then it will be about running them and monitoring the deployment. And that's something that could be done from the operation team. Of course, having all these things centralized in one environment, Azure DevOps, it's possible to monitor everything and learn how we are performing. So here we are, how boards look like. We have these elements that are the backlog items that are assigned to people. And those can be exploded in several tasks assigned to developers. This is the environment, the interface of Azure DevOps. And then we also have the organization in sprints. Now, let's go to see what the famous icon we were talking about previously. It's application insights. That is an event collector. And that's the bridge between the bot development and the big data pipeline development part. Please don't be scared about the nerdy black background of this picture. Let's see it together. It's pretty simple, actually. This is the JSON that defines an event. Here we have the name. For example, that's the user message. And then we have an ID, a unique ID to identify the event, together with the event time. And these three are the core properties of whatever event. But then we have custom properties. And that's the core part for this kind of projects, because the custom properties, since they are custom of course, are created at development time when we code the chatbot. But these properties are useful for tracking the interesting information that are needed to build later the KPI that the customer asked for monitoring. Now, what's the point? That the schema here is a JSON, so it's an unstructured kind of organization of data, because a JSON can have different level. But at the end of the day, we want to reach a table, so a structured organization of data when we persist this data on a database or on a data warehouse. So what does it mean? That we can have several approaches. We can have few events, but with many properties, or we can have many events with fewer properties. The idea is that you don't have an official solution, an official approach for that. It depends. So that's why at the beginning, the data specialist and the bot developer should sit together to think about how to design events in the best way to be able to track the right information, to be able later to implement the KPI to monitor. Now, before going to an example of deployment via Azure DevOps, let's have a look to the big data architecture itself. Here on the left, we have the chatbot interacting with the users. Now, a bot message or a user message are just two examples of events, but we have many events, like any calls made to the API, any Lewis event, any Q&A maker related events, a lot of things that might be considered metadata, meta events, but they are useful to build KPIs. Or for example, when we ask the user to give us a feedback, then we can choose to create an event that is feedback event. All these things together are tracked via Application Insights. And here we have the famous bridge. Application Insights has a continuous export feature that constantly exports the data collected in a blob storage. Here we are in an ELT paradigm. When I say ELT, I mean first extract, then load, and then transform, instead of ETL, that is the old paradigm. Why that? Because during a first iteration or during the project, we might have an idea of working with data in a certain way. But after many months, for example, or a year, we might choose to analyze data in a different way. And if after extracting data, we transform them already, we might miss some information. So first of all, we load the raw data, and then we transform them, so that one day, if we want to transform them, enrich them, clean them in another way, we still have the raw data in our lake with our raw data. Then we have Databricks, that, as I said before, is our big data engine for doing data enrichment, aggregation, cleaning it, data quality. The data are then persisted in our SQL DB or data warehouse. And on top of it, we have Azure Analysis Services. That is our semantic model that is plugged to the tables that we have in our DB or data warehouse. And via DAX language, we can define our KPIs. And as always, at the end of our architecture, we have Power BI that is connected to Analysis Services. We have our Azure Data Factory as orchestrator, so that it can orchestrate all these jobs together to collect data, transform them, and then present them in reports. This is the Application Insights interface. So actually, that's the moment in which people from the chatbot development and from the data pipeline development can talk together to each other because those are exactly the events, the ones that we can see here, that are developed in the chatbot. And then all these events are exported in our famous data lake. Now, I shown on the big data architecture the analysis services model. And just for the sake of time frame for this presentation, we are deepening only the deployment of that part of the architecture, but of course then you can deepen all the other possible technologies that we have to see how they can be organized and deployed via Azure DevOps. In the precise case of analysis services, actually the model itself is a BIM file. Here we are. And this is within a project, an analysis services project. So we can find these files in the repositories in Azure DevOps. And every time a developer codes he implements any new KPIs, it then uploads the new version of the project to Azure DevOps. After that, it is possible to implement some pipelines to release the new version of the project, and it means that the code is actually brought on the server on which we have the model itself. This process actually is pretty simple compared to coding and implementing the content of the technology itself. And here where the IT operation team is actually able to create a release and then run it to deploy a new version of the model of an Azure Analysis Services. And here we have an example of release pipeline and monitoring screenshots of how the environment could look like. So when we build the release pipeline, we will have this object here that could be run in series as well as in parallel. So you can build dependencies here. And then once everything is built, you can run it and you will monitor what's happening during the pipeline run. So in synthesis, we are able to split development from operation. And really, in one click, it is possible to deploy a new version after that has been developed from developers. And we have a centralized environment for deployment of new version of whatever solution. Now, these are some resources, Azure Analysis Services via DevOps, to see how we can do step-by-step the organization of the project and the pipeline creation for the one-click deployment of it. Then how to deal with custom telemetry with Microsoft Bot Framework. Then how to work with Azure DevOps branch strategy scenarios, because this is more technical and it is how developers should work together on several branches of the same solution. And then some Bot Framework GitHub samples. So here are the session takeaways. Business requirements have to lead the custom telemetry design because at the end of the day, the customer wants to monitor the solution. So it's very important to design it in such a way that it will be possible to monitor the important data on top of which the KPIs are built. For this, data specialists have to work at the beginning of the project together with bot developers to design the custom events and their custom properties. The KPIs implementation complexity has to be clearly evaluated considering which events and custom properties will be available. And less ad hoc properties are available, and the more the ATL effort will be to adjust all the data in the best way possible for implementing the KPIs. And to conclude, DevOps is the way always set up a DevOps environment, not only for the backlogs management, but also for the CI/CD pipelines to allow the IT operation teams to be able to deploy the solution in one click. Thank you very much for your interest on this session. And if you have any question, any feedback, please reach out to me at luca.valarelli@microsoft.com, and on aka.ms/luca you will find in the blog session more articles related to this and other topics. Thank you very much.